Flowing through the heart of the Ozarks is the crown jewel of Arkansas and a national treasure, the Buffalo River, America's first national river. The pristine waters wind 135 miles through towering limestone bluffs, revealing a fragile ecosystem that stretches back through time. 40 years ago, Arkansans banded together to preserve these waters, and in 1972, after a long, hard fight, Congress declared the Buffalo a national river. But what was won is now endangered and may soon be lost.
How long was it since you voted last?
Well, it was probably a couple months ago.
In the Buffalo River Valley, families have lived on the land and along the creeks for generations. Jewel Fowler has been here for most of her 80 years. She moved away once, but coming back was easy.
Well, it was home to me. It was just something I enjoyed. I enjoyed the mountains and the pure, clean water and all the scenery.
Big Creek, a major tributary of the Buffalo River, is just a dozen yards from Jewel's front door, a part of her life.
Well, that's usually the first thing I see when I look out, is my creek.
But because of new neighbors, her world, in this part of the Ozarks, is changing. A half a mile up the creek, a hog farm recently moved in. This is not your mom and pop hog farm. It's an industrial farm with thousands of pigs producing tons of hog waste.
I couldn't believe it. I just thought that was ridiculous.
Visitors are not welcome past the front gate, but up the hill, 6,500 pigs are tightly packed in cages. Their toxic waste will first be flushed into these ponds and then spread out over 600 acres of hay fields, all in Jewel's Valley, just upstream from the Buffalo National River.
I just shake my head every time I think about it. How could anyone thinking rationally have thought that this was a proper place to place such a facility?
Gordon Watkins lives in the Buffalo River Valley and is part of a group fighting the hog farm.
I tell people I can't understand how the people who are here to protect our state's environmental quality allowed a 6,500 hog operation to be placed in such a fragile ecosystem just a few miles from Arkansas's greatest national treasure.
The factory farm was approved by the Arkansas Department of Environmental Quality without a public hearing or even a notice in the newspaper. Just following the rules, they said. And the rules don't take into consideration the sensitive geology of the land, porous limestone rock.
Well, one of the unique aspects of the Ozarks as an ecosystem is its karst topography. Karst is a limestone substrata overlain by shallow soils. And when materials are applied to the surface like hog waste, they percolate down through, they hit the limestone, they work their way through fissures and cracks in the limestone, eventually end up in the springs. And in this creek right here behind me, you'll see that above us, the creek is dry, completely dry. All of the water that you see flowing here is coming out of the ground right at this spot. Well, where's it coming from? It's coming from all of these surrounding hills. And so when you apply 2 million gallons a year of hog waste to fields just a short distance upstream, it's almost inevitable that some of that is going to make its way into this creek. And this creek feeds just 5 miles downstream into the Buffalo National River.
The Buffalo is a natural paradise for paddlers, campers, and hikers. More than 1 million people visit the region, spending $308 million each year. The Buffalo is an economic engine for tourism and a vital part of the Ozark economy, which explains why the public unrest is nonpartisan.
I think it's the dumbest idea I've heard of in a long time. It's the first national river. I cannot for the life of me understand why anyone would want to put that beautiful river at risk. It doesn't take but one negative story about hog doings getting in the Buffalo River to ruin the good, pristine image that we have in Arkansas, especially for the buffalo.
The factory farm is owned and operated by local people, but was put in business by corporate giant Cargill, along with a multi-million-dollar taxpayer-subsidized loan. And now Cargill Pork has been sold to a huge international company, JBS of Brazil.
This is an industrial farming operation. This is not family land that's been owned for generations. This is land that was purchased specifically for this project. The farm only owns 23 acres. All of the remaining land is leased from neighboring landowners.
This is what will happen to those leased lands. Each year, 2 million gallons of hog waste, 8,500 tons, will be spread out over the porous terrain. And almost surrounded by the manure fields is the Mount Judy Public School. 250 kids and 30 teachers exposed to hog waste 9 months a year. The health threat to the children was not even considered by the state of Arkansas.
What I learned in politics is that politicians and bureaucrats and big companies don't respond to logic, they respond to pressure. And I think the more people gather, the more people speak out, the more people donate to help the cause, the better, the higher the pressure will be, and the greater likelihood that it'll be heard and that there'll be some reaction.
And our greatest fear is that this one facility is risky enough, but the trend is that more facilities will be built nearby, and we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. There's too much at risk here. The Ozarks are not the place for facilities of this type.
It's going to contaminate the water. It's going to make people sick.
Jewel Fowler, whose family has lived along Big Creek for generations, who raised a hog or two herself, and who gardens with the pure spring water and watches her grandchildren play in the creek, brings some country skepticism to the claims made by the state and the factory farm that everything will be just fine.
I just can't believe that would happen, you know, it's bound to affect everything.
To learn more about the struggle against the industrial hog farm and the future of Big Creek and the Buffalo National River, visit the website buffaloriveralliance.org.